Hi everyone, back for another celebration of the fully diminished 7 chord and how it resolves. I'll get right into it. In the last video I talked about how any of the notes can be considered the root of the chord and be treated as a leading tone chord to whatever tonic key you're going to. Also, any of the notes can be treated as the 7th of the chord, and watch what happens when you go through that process. In the case of this B, D, F, A flat thing, A flat is typically seen as the 7th of the chord, or it's going to be for now. And so if you remember from the last video, this note, typically when you resolve it, it drops a half step. When you drop this note a half step, you get the note G. Now look what you have. You have a G, B, D, F. You have a G dominant 7 chord, something that most of us are pretty comfortable with, right? And so it's a 5 chord. Where does it go? Well, it can go to C major or C minor. And you can see that this fully diminished 7 thing oftentimes is used as a substitute for a dominant chord because it's so close. Only one of the notes is a half step away from spelling a dominant 7 chord. And this, you can also treat any of these notes as the 7th of the chord. Let me give you another example here. Instead of B, D, F, A flat, let's do D, F, A flat. So we'll treat D as the root of the chord. And then the 7th of the chord here would be a B, or the correct spelling would be C flat. I talked about that in a different video. And so if the B or the C flat is the 7th of the chord, you drop this note a half step. You can spell it any way you want. Let's spell it as an A sharp. B dropped a half step as A sharp, fine. So now what do you get? Well, you get an A sharp dominant 7 chord, harmony. That's what you get. So what are the notes of an A sharp dominant 7? Well, it's an A sharp, a C double sharp, spelling gets a little weird, E sharp, and then a G sharp. And if you look at this D fully diminished 7 thing, that's what you have. The C double sharp is the same as D, and harmonically the E sharp is the same as F, and then the G sharp is the same as A flat, and the A sharp here, we already talked about how we drop that a half step for resolution. So now you get an A sharp 7, dominant 7 thing. And where does that typically resolve to? Well, it resolves to either D sharp major or D sharp minor, or if you want to deal with fewer accidentals, E flat major or E flat minor. Okay, and so all of a sudden you get a lot of possibilities. Let's go back here. Let's go back to our original B fully diminished 7 chord. So B, D, F, A flat. Okay, we've already done this. If A flat is the root, or excuse me, the 7th of the chord, drop that a half step for resolution. The note G, you get a G7 chord. So if A flat is the 7th, this chord can turn into a G dominant 7 chord. You can move to the tonic can be some key based on C major or C minor. If F is the 7th of the chord, you drop that a half step, and so you get an E7 chord, okay? And where does that go? Well, it's going to go to A major or A minor. If D is the 7th of this chord, then if you drop that note a half step, you land on C sharp, or it can be D flat. So you're going to get a C sharp dominant 7 chord or a D flat dominant 7 chord, and that can go to the appropriate keys. And then finally B, if you drop it a half step, you land on A sharp or B flat. A sharp or B flat dominant 7, where does that go? Well, that goes to either D sharp, major or minor, or if you spell it differently, E flat, major or minor. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do with these harmonies. Hope that makes sense. Leave me a comment if you'd like, and I'll see you next time.